Hello and welcome to the live stream. If we haven't met before, hello and welcome to the live stream. If we haven't met before, my name is James Follent, and I believe the world of wine is beautiful and complex. So I create videos for wine lovers to learn more about the world of wine. This evening, I'm drinking and sipping on a Shiraz that I just poured. I haven't tasted it yet, but I'll grab the bottle. On a Shiraz from Tablik, Ngimbi Lakes 2018 was produced as part of the centenary collection with Qantas. It's been a while since I've had a bottle of red wine, just because of how hot it's been. I've been drinking more white wines and rosés recently. It's part of that. Goes all right. See how that does in the glass. A little bit more after it's got a little bit of air to it as well. But let's make sure I have some of the content ready in the background as we look at wine and NFTs. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you've got any questions as part of it. I can flash those up on screen as we go as part of it as well. So welcome to the stream this evening. And I can see I've already got one question on here that I'll get to in a second. Is white wine a cooler drink, or is it just a preference? White wine is not just a cooler drink because it's been in the fridge, you serve it at a cooler temperature, but it's because I've been in an unair conditioned apartment. So the practicalities of that being in an apartment when it's a 30-degree day, red wine does not taste as enjoyable at kind of 18 degrees. And when you kind of serve a bottle of red wine at room temperature, it means that it gets too warm. In summer, the alcohol in the wine is too intense. You lose some of the beauty and flavor in the red wine compared to what it would be if you're serving it at 17, 18, 19 degrees, or I think 21 degrees. Hey Siri, what's the temperature right now? So bottle
21 degrees.
21 degrees and cloudy. So ideally the bottle's been in a 21 degree ambient temperature, which adds to that. Hopefully that answers the question about whether or not white wine is a cooler drink or is it just a preference. So it is definitely, you enjoy white wine more cold, would be the summary of that, because the serving temperature is a lot colder than you would a red wine, and red wines aren't as enjoyable hot as part of that. And yeah, also feel free to drop any questions about NFTs and wine, or any other general question about wine. I can take detours along the way. But I thought it'd be good to kind of just explain what an NFT is if someone hasn't heard that acronym before. So NFT, 3 letters that represent a non-fungible token. Something that fungible is something you'd be across every day. Something like money, a note would be fungible. A $10 note is something that is worth $10, and it doesn't matter which $10 note you have. But something like a piece of art, like the Mona Lisa, is non-fungible. The Mona Lisa is a one-of-one piece of art by Leonardo da Vinci as part of that experience. So I'll just jump to the next one. How would you describe the difference in taste of smell of red and white wine. So looking at the taste and smell of a red wine, so this particular red wine that I've got, you're going to notice that you're going to get more generically in red wine, you're going to get dark fruits like black fruits and red fruits. So there's berry, blackberry, plum flavors as part of that and scented, as well as a little bit of, you can get a bit of a pepperiness coming through as well for Shirazes as part of the taste. So you get more characteristics of the wine that sit kind of along a certain part of a spectrum. It'll sound weird, but then on red wine ages, you can also get secondary and tertiary flavors that are earthiness, forest floor, mushroom, chocolate that come out of that after a wine ages and the tannins break down. And when you get to white wine's a bit different in terms of the scent and taste. Crisp, fresh, you'll find more kind of fruit in there. So thinking about melons, peaches, nectarines, passion fruit. I tend to stay away from passion fruit styles of wine because passion fruit is not a fruit I enjoy eating, and it's not something that I like in the notes of my coffee, and it's not something that I like in the notes of my wine. I can appreciate it in there. So like Sauvignon Blanc is a white wine that you'd potentially come across for a white wine that's known for stone fruit, and stone fruit can be associated with passion fruit when you drill down on some of those flavors. So it's almost like, imagine white wine is like a fruit salad in terms of some of the things you'd get, whereas you'd almost be getting more kind of the red berry, strawberry, blueberry characteristics coming out in a red wine, and you see those differences. And then champagne kind of sits to the side. You get kind of bready, yeasty, brioche, biscuity notes and the fine bead of champagne. In sparkling wine, which kind of puts it off in its own little category as well. And going to the next question from Kenneth. How long can it take for a wine to go bad? It's a great question. It depends on what you do. So this bottle, because it's red wine, there'll be an amount of time it can aerate. You can enjoy it opening it up. The oxygen reacting with the wine is something that will enhance the experience of the smell and the taste, but that oxygen reacting with the wine will also turn it to vinegar after a while. So a big, bold red wine, some people will have that out for a day or 8 hours to sit on their bench top, to decant, to let it soften, to get and appreciate the fullness of a wine as part of that. But then if you leave that bottle out for a day or 2 or 3 or 4 in the sun, that's when it really starts to go bad. So what that means is like 3 tips to keep your wine. 3 tips to make your wine last longer would be: get the bottle, get the screw cap back on as quickly as possible, stop the oxygen from getting to the wine, put the bottle of wine in the fridge to keep it cool, to slow down the process of oxygenation where it will come into contact and go to vinegar. And 3, if you are able to, you can also have like a screw cap topper where you can get like a little pump and bring out the oxygen through that. So it'll pump out the air to reduce the amount of oxygen in the bottle, which will help make that wine last longer. So that's 3 tips to help a wine last longer. So next question was a longer one. Let's see if it fits on the screen. Did you hear about the person who sold their ape NFT for $3,000 instead of the actual $300,000 it was valued at. Yeah, I heard that. It was a tragic story where someone put a rounding error in. They didn't hit that extra zero, and they'd already pressed the list button. And just like that, it was listed on the marketplace, and someone saw the bargain and snapped it up as part of that. It's a sad, sad story to hear about as part of that. But it's always important to make sure before you accept, list, send, buy, make sure those are out there. But yes, next question about NFTs. Do I own any NFTs? Yes, I do. And let me just jump in and see if I can find some of them in my OpenSea account. So I've started kind of dabbling in the world of NFTs, been following that along for a distance as part of that, seeing what's going on in the world, seeing what's happening there. I've also started experimenting with what does it mean to make an NFT? What does it mean to make and mint an NFT? And what does that look like as part of the process? So you might be able to see some exclusive NFTs I haven't really shared or published before. I've got an idea brewing that's an NFT project, so just drop a wow before we go into screen share for that, because you're about to see not just some of the NFTs that I own, but also some of the things that I have started working on minting. So this is my OpenSea wallet. I have a james.follent crypto domain that I bought, so that can be my wallet address. I think I set that up for, I'm not sure if it was Ethereum or Bitcoin. I've been enjoying the videos that Jimmy Reese has been putting out. So he put a Shut Up Jason NFT together. So I picked that one up for a little bit of fun. I found a random Pokemon Charmander one that I picked up for a bargain. I'm not sure if it's going to be worth anything, but I've also started making some of my own. So I started minting some. So that charred tree by a creek is something from a photo that I actually took and kind of made it into a digital painting. So I'm interested by the idea of how NFTs and non-fungible tokens can move and translate into the metaverse, into the virtual world, but then I'm also interested with what does it do to add utility to that as well, and not just utility, but also give someone that could hold on to, appreciate for years to come as a piece of art. If you could have it hanging in an art gallery, even before the world got COVID, went like this, I was contemplating the idea, what would it be like to make my own artwork, have my own art gallery, or have my own photography series with my own work? What would that process be like? How hard would it be? What would it take? Now, after I've seen non-fungible tokens and NFTs, I'm more interested in how do I have I have not thought about making it. I'll throw that question up as well if I can. Do not have my overlay on the screen for that. But the question was, have you thought about making a Twitter for my NFTs? Not yet. I've kind of holding a few things, 3 ideas. If I wanted to set up a wine Discord, what would it be and what would it look like? How could I have a Discord for a wine community for people to come together and talk about wine and make suggestions? But then how could I also have that community have something that adds values? How could you have like a membership potentially where NFTs are a way to access that Discord and access that value as a piece of art and also a piece of utility coming together? Also thought about with trying to sell scented candles online. If you were to buy a scented candle from me, do I have an NFT that gives you a discount? So you can sell the NFT to other people, and then that NFT is able to get discounts on scented candles. So that'd be some of the areas that would come together and fit when I think about what it might look like for NFTs if I was to make them, and also make Twitter, because I want to kind of figure out a way to add value for the long term. And I want to do not just one piece, but figure out how to do a collection of work to be able to share that with people. But it's an exciting idea. It's brewing, coming in the back of my mind.
Let's go.
So, if you haven't been with me on the stream for a while, I've also upped with some of the effects and some of the things that I can play. It's not quite an Elgato Stream Deck that I have in front of me, but I have a few buttons on my iPhone at my command that I can add some fun effects to transition between scenes. So if you're new here, please make sure you're subscribed to my channel to hear more videos about wine and wine lovers as part of that. And I've just closed the wrong screen, so I'm going to pop out my chat again. My chat overlays might not quite work because I just shut them too early. So if we look at one of the first wine NFTs in Australia and what's happening in that space, and I'll jump back into the screen share. Penfolds has been leading the way. So I've been wanting to do a wine video about this for a while, because Penfolds debuted an NFT with a website called Blockbar. So I'll just read through some of the article to give you the context of Australian wine giant Penfolds has become the first wine brand to partner with Blockbar, a leading NFT marketplace for luxury wine and spirits products. So Penfolds is actually selling this wine only via NFT, the McGill Estate 3 Cabernet Sauvignon Shiraz from the 2018 vintage. So Penfolds is joining the cryptocurrency trend to become the first wine partner with Blockbar, a leading NFT marketplace, and one of the world's most respected wine estates has launched a limited edition NFT tied to its rare McGill Cellar 3 barrel of wine made from the 2021 vintage. Oh, it's my mistake. There was something else that has come since that was announced and happened today that I'll go into. Made from the 2021 vintage, available for purchase for $130,000 US. So it was a big price. That's about 300. I think it was a 300 bottle. 750 ml wine bottles could fit inside of that barrel, to give you a context of how big a barrel is and the volume in it. So that single NFT will be converted into 300 bottle NFTs at the date of bottling the wine in October 2022, with each bottle being identified with a bottle, both a barrel and bottle number. So Penfolds Chief Marketing Officer Christy Kate commented on the partnership. This is our first venture selling wine via NFT and cryptocurrency, allowing us to connect and build relationships with new collectors who buy and trade luxury wine in a completely new and refreshing way. The wine itself, McGill Cellar 3 from the cellar from the 2021 vintage, is not available for public purchase, making it the ultimate collector's item. So the NFT serves as a digital receipt that verifies the buyer's ownership and authenticity of the wine bottles. The barrel NFT can be resold or transferred through the Blockbar platform, but cannot be redeemed by the purchaser. The bottle NFTs can, however, be redeemed by the purchaser, but the physical bottle after the date of release of the wine in October 2023. So that means, effectively, with that particular NFT, you get the one to begin with, and then they'll split it up into 300, and the 300 NFTs that you get after it, you can actually burn that NFT, you can trade it in, you can give it in to receive the physical bottle for you, which is a really interesting concept, because that was back in November 24th, 2021. But something that has happened today is that Penfolds have actually released a second rare Wine NFT, where they've been giving away 300 bottles of the Penfolds McGill Cellar 3 Cabernet Shiraz from the 2018 vintage. So I had a quick look at this before. I'll go to the Block Bars site. I'll go back to the screen share as well so you don't miss what I am seeing. And feel free to make sure you've got any questions about NFTs, throw them in the comments as well. I see that one about scented candles as well. Let me just fix my chat overlay that I wrecked before by closing a window. There we go. So what scents of candles do you sell, and what scents are you thinking of producing in the future? So far, on the website, I have a few candles up, coconut and lime being one of the flavors for that. So if I go into the screen share at follent.net, I have the JF collection. So celebrating a variety of candles here. I have one left of the Woodlands Realm soy wax candle. Smells like a forest. Something I'm excited about and I have the most of in stock is the Zesty Pirate, a coconut and lime soy wax candle, as well as like a citronella soy wax candle will keep away the flies, keep away the mosquitoes when you're having a summer barbecue. And also got a vanilla caramel soy wax candle and wild mulberry soy wax candle, all coming in as part of, different scents, different flavors, or cut from recycled wine bottles that I've collected from friends and family to be able to then have them stored. I've currently got 72 plus empty bottles waiting to be sent off to get cut, and I've already got some candles in stock, which is exciting. So the variety on there, I think it's still, if you actually wanted to go to follent.net and buy some of those, I'm keen to get people's feedback as part of that. So there's 25% off on that. So do you think if we go off on one more tangential question before we bring it back to the crypto space, something random about mountain biking as a hobby. Have you ever gone mountain biking, and what are your opinions of it? I own a Blue Trek mountain bike. I haven't taken it mountain biking. I was just using it to ride to and from the train station. It can be risky if you don't get your turns right. You can end up having a nasty fall, breaking a leg. Or breaking an arm. Make sure you have enough protection on your hands, elbows, knees as part of it, because it's a high-paced sport that can cause injury. So be safe out there. One of my exercise goals for 2022 is to run a marathon. So I'm working on that. I've recently upgraded. Qantas had a great sale on, so picked up Apple's Watch Series 7 for 30% off with Qantas points and those Qantas points, ironically, I got from buying quantities of wine and getting bonus points. But I'm starting to put the kilometers on the pavement to run a marathon this year, which will be exciting as part of my training. Now, let's go back to the question about crypto. Do you think that in the near future, crypto will be used to buy wine or exchange NFT for a wine bottle? Yes. Resounding yes. I would love to be able to pick up and purchase and be able to afford to buy one of the Penfolds bottles of wine for one of their NFTs, but it is already happening. And I'll be able to show you that today because breaking news, Penfolds have already released a second wine. Breaking news is that Penfolds have already released a second rare wine NFT to the market, selling individual bottles of wine as NFTs for the 2018 vintage of the McGill Cellar 3 Cabernet Shiraz. So jumping into the screen share to look at that announcement from an article on the Decanter blog as part of that. That was released today at like 1:30 a.m. in the morning. To be able to see some of these, they've gone back to that same partner with Block Bar as part of that, which is really interesting. And these are just single bottles, not just the whole barrel. So this is the Block Bar marketplace. I wish I had enough. I'd basically have to cash in all my crypto to be able to afford one of these bottles at a time when the market is down. But this has been released now. So this is potentially a sneak preview of what the future could look like with different brands. So looking at Penfolds and what they're doing with wine and NFTs. The success of Penfolds has been driven by generations of visionaries and innovators. From the beginning to 1844 to today, the merging of science, art, and innovation has driven Penfolds to become one of Australia's most famed and respected wine makers. Penfolds have their wallet address on the blockchain up and running, which is exciting. So you can see that some of those have been transferred, some of those have been sold recently today. We just quickly flick across to the big barrel from Block Bar. I am speculating because one of the great things I like about this is the traceability. So you're not just getting kind of the art of the NFT, but there's actually traceability. So I can open this up on the blockchain and see who has purchased it. So what we're currently looking at is a confusing amount of addresses for different crypto transactions. Let's go to the last page. Hey, what are transfer means? Okay, so these are all of kind of blockchains, different things. That's not going to help me much in terms of finding the NFT. But I want to see the one that went from Penfolds to a collector more than 45 days ago. I'm wondering if this was the transaction. I feel like I saw the person's name on the ledger here. It doesn't look quite right for the price when I look at it. Trying to look at the stats there. But on here they had, I thought it was the owner was part of it. They've got a Discord going on. It seems like everyone with an NFT project has a Discord going as well. They explain how this will work for breaking up this barrel into that NFT, because the barrel cannot be redeemed. And it was Iggy. So this is my speculation. This is my hot take. Did this NFT for 130,000 US dollars, was that picked up by Iggy Azalea? I'm trying to think about who would go by the name of Iggy on something like this to be able to purchase a piece of history in terms of buying a McGill Cellar 3 Old Vine Barossa Shiraz with a Coonawarra Cabernet Sauvignon. So someone has picked up some Ethereum to the amount of 130,000 US dollars to buy this barrel that represents 750 ml bottles that are actually going to be released in October of 2022. And hello, Paul. Welcome to the stream as we talk about wine and NFTs, non-fungible tokens, and how people are starting to use cryptocurrency to buy physical goods and make purchases. The one that I was excited about that I scheduled this stream in for today is Penfolds have also released some of the McGill Cellar 3 2018 Cabernet Sauvignon Shiraz. So this has gone live today. So there's 300 bottles that are available as part of this collection. You get this fancy rotating bottle to go with it. Penfold's chief winemaker is Peter Gagau, and he was the winemaker for this particular wine. 53% Cabernet Sauvignon, 47% Shiraz. I'm wondering if any of this will actually see the market, or if they're only selling this one exclusively by NFTs. But this Penfolds McGill Cellar 3 is only made in exceptional vintages, crafted under the watchful eye of chief winemaker Peter Gagau. Peter Gago. This ultra rare wine represents the highest quality Penfolds blend of Cabernet Sauvignon and Shiraz, made from the 2018 vintage. So imagine that Penfolds bin 389, but this is the ultra rare, ultra premium version of that. So the thing that fascinates me about this is if I had enough Ethereum in my wallet ready to go, I could actually go into here, see kind of all the collateral about the marketing and how it's working. So these bottles are actually being stored in Singapore until redemption. So this block bar, as the marketplace and the website, was created by leaders in the duty-free and liquor industry. Storing and shipping liquor is literally in their DNA, which has made them kind of the operator of this marketplace to be able to do these super premium things. So these bottles, so you can buy this bottle, you can buy this NFT, and they're going to actually store this bottle for you till you redeem it. So you don't get the bottle till you trade in that digital token, until you trade in the NFT and give it to them. So you have to swap the digital version for the physical thing to get it back. But then you can also trade that digital token with other people on the secondary market, and then someone else could redeem it later on. And the thing that fascinates me from the financial standpoint about NFTs, you can potentially pay tax twice on it. So you can potentially pay tax on the capital gains that you've realized on your cryptocurrency going up or down, as well as potentially capital gains on buying or selling of this as an asset, depending on how expensive it is. So $130,000 for that big barrel could be something that could be something that would raise interesting questions for the tax office if it was sold later on by an Australian in Australia. But the fascinating thing is I can actually click and go in here and buy now. So there's an actual marketplace going on here. If I had 10 ETH, 10 Ethereum, I could click here and proceed to make a purchase if I was logged into their website. But it gets really interesting because it also adds traceability. So all of a sudden, you've eliminated wine fraud from the process. So you've got no one making and faking old bottles of rare wine and then selling them on the auction market. You have a bottle of wine ready to go. You have, from the day that the bottle of wine comes out of the cellar, that bottle of wine is now available on the open market. You actually see a list and a history of all the buyers, so you can see who's owned it. And it's a similar question in art fraud when you think about NFTs. Who's owned this? Where does this painting come from? What's its history been? Who owned it before that person? All of a sudden, you have traceability. You've got a chain of ownership, so you can see who's owned what. It's on the blockchain. I think 0.5 ETH is just about the cheapest up. 0.4 ETH. You can actually go in as well, talking about that traceability and looking at wine and NFTs. Looking at that, you can actually see who this is. So this is bottle 110 of 300 as part of this. I can view this one on Ethereum. So this is where traceability comes in. So you've got this hash of this wine, and so you can see that it's gone from nothing to Penfolds, and now it's been transferred from Penfolds to this new address, this new wallet, as part of that transaction. So that transaction is recorded, and every transaction after that will be recorded as part of it. So it keeps track of where the wine came from and who's owned it, but they're also doing you the favor of storing it. You could sell that wine well into the future. So you could sell that to 2025 and beyond if you want to assure that peak drinking, and that 0.8 ETH plus gas. Let's see what that is. AUD. So potentially in Australian dollars, that bottle of wine would be worth potentially 2,100 Australian dollars based on 0.4 or 0.48 Ethereum, would be potentially about 2,100 Australian dollars at today's currency, when you think about the gas fees that go alongside it. So it's a really interesting concept, being able to all of a sudden take. It's a really interesting concept. It's an interesting concept, being able to take a physical good, transform it, put it aside, offer a digital token for it, a digital thing. It's almost like, here's your digital trading card that represents your ownership of it, that all of a sudden Ethereum enables things like this, like smart contracts that represent ownership. And it's also, you've got this uniqueness and that novelty to it, that now that this is in Ethereum, for a bottle of wine, that, like, Ethereum's also down at the moment. So for 0.48 ETH, you're potentially getting that at a bargain. Because if you sell it for 1 ETH in the future, but then Ethereum's moved from 4,000, 5,000 Australian dollars to 10,000, 12,000 Australian dollars in price, it could be an investment, could be a bargain, could be something you speculate on. But having ideas like this that come through from big brands like Penfolds, designed a really well executed concept to produce, this isn't a wine, but produce a wine that you can sell online in a non-traditional way. They're innovating, which is really exciting. It's part of it, yeah. And I agree. It's fascinating stuff, because this is concepts that are potentially going to pioneer the way we do commerce in the future, the way we do transactions in the future, which is going to be a really interesting way that people talk about Web 3.0 and how that could shape the future of even things like video games as part of that. But also, I'm really interested in how that could impact the wine industry. So the other person that I've come across who's a bit more obscure in terms of the world of wine, I hadn't heard of them until I had started doing my research for this live stream, in terms of David Powell, an Australian winemaker. He's actually, I think he's created his own vintage, and he's selling like the whole vintage. So all of the wine that he's made from 2021 is going to be sold online, and he already has it listed, which is a really interesting idea. And I think he's also, as part of this process, he's actually created a new winery as well, which fascinates me, because it's also something that, yeah, it's available on a platform like OpenSea. So his winery is selling the whole vintage through that, which is really interesting. So he has a beautiful website for Neldner Road. The wine vintage of the century is what he's calling it. And this whole vintage is going to be sold as a non-fungible token, as an NFT plus fine wine. So he's going to sell the whole thing, and he's offering kind of experiences to go with it, bringing together technology and tradition. And he's selling the whole vintage by NFT, by barrel. So that's high stakes, and he's got a reputation in the winemaking world. Dave has made over 96 points, rated by the Wine Advocate. So that's an American wine publication. And Dave's wines have rated 99 or 100 more than 20 times, making him one of the most highly ranked winemakers on the planet. So he's doing something right. He has a good track record, and he's in the Barossa Valley, which I'm excited about. He's excited about a historic vintage, so I've got to make sure the screen share's on. So in historic vintage, the vines of the Barossa Valley are some of the oldest of their kind on the planet, far older than the famous vines of Bordeaux. In the late 1800s, France and Europe suffered an epidemic of phylloxera and aphid that caused wholesale decimation of vineyards. Almost none of the old growth vines survive today. Vineyards were replanted on American rootstock that provided resistance to phylloxera. So at the same time, the vineyards of France were being destroyed. New settlers in the Barossa were making wine from young grapevines they'd imported from Europe. And these vines, which today provide the fruit for Neldner Road, are the original European vines. They're like living fossils that survived the catastrophe that killed all the rest of their kind. And now they're more than 150 years old, and they're utterly unique piece of growing, breathing history. So this is really interesting. They've got some good marketing behind it. And why Sell Wine Buy NFT? Simply, it allows Dave to package his premium wines with the other things he loves about winemaking: memorable experiences, sharing with friends, travel, great food, and stories to last a lifetime. We always like to try new things and believe that NFTs and wine seem like the perfect match. It reminds us of how wines are sold in Bordeaux through their on-primer system. The French system is something where a wine will come out, someone will buy the barrel after doing a tasting early on, potentially, and then speculate on what that could cost to potentially use as an investment to make in the future, so they could then potentially sell the bottles on the future once it's bottled. So all of a sudden, it's a purchase that an NFT could be an advantage over the normal wine buyer, who will pay full retail price once the wine hits the open market. And NFTs guarantee provenance, which is great, but it's more about bringing our wines to a new audience who we think will be interested in what we're doing. So, interested in this NFT, he's really laid it out. He's added value to not just a piece of digital art, it's actually a physical good, but he's also layered on utility, so you get experience as part of it. So you get the digital artwork of your individual barrel head with personalized brass plaque, bottling of your wine into your choice of bottle formats with personalized wine labels for an individual or corporate entity. Cellaring your wine until you're ready for us to ship it to you. I think storage is one of the most underrated things in some of these deals, that they're willing to store the wine for you before it gets shipped. And after the bottling, the physical barrel head with the personalized brass plaque mailed to you to keep. The opportunity to work a day during vintage with Dave and his team making Neldner Road wine, with dinner with the team afterwards. Imagine that, being able to go along with the winemaker and enjoy that experience of making wine and having a story to tell with it of what you helped make. And there's also $1 million opportunity, so that anyone who purchases NFTs to the value of AUD $1 million or more will get a My Place or Yours experience with Dave once travel is possible again. This means either Dave will come to you anywhere in the world and host a dinner party with some of your wine. This option includes 2 return business class airfares from any major city in the world, a Voxen VX1 hologram of one of your barrels, and all other standard inclusions. And there's also the opportunity to buy the entire vintage, anyone who purchases NFT number 1 will be able to host a special event in the Barossa Valley for themselves and 19 friends. Enjoy dinner cooked by a celebrity chef, your own wine, and a night of tales and frivolity with Dave, whose hospitality is global. And thank you very much, Paul, for the encouragement. I love making videos about wine to help people learn more about the world of wine. So it's great that it's helping you as part of that. So it's really interesting seeing this project from David Powell. It's interesting to see how Penfolds package it from a branding perspective, big premium wine brand, the graphics that go with it, the clean, slick black of a marketplace, black and white, the bottle showcase spinning in the air for you. Looking at then Nelda Road and how they've put it up. So you get they've got a nice slick looking website talking about the experience and what goes into it. It's got lists out the different wines. I gravitate towards this particular project because of the Shiraz in there. And I feel like for Dave Powell, I feel like I've been working towards this 2021 vintage with some sort of sense and form of destiny. 40 years of experience making wine, the relationship with the growers, the connection with the vineyards have all come together at the same time to produce something so special that we might never see it again, which is why he's calling it the vintage of the decade. So it'll be really interesting to see how that goes as well as they all go hand in hand. And when I think about kind of the branding and the packaging, I look at the OpenSea for Neldner Road, where they're putting their wines. So they've got them here, they're available. Penfolds was snapped up really quickly within 24 hours. Collectors saw the value in it, saw the value to go along with it. For me, I've got an itch about numbers. Soccer players with the number 7 jersey, so picking up NFT at number 7 potentially, even though it's barrel number 6 of 20. They've got that barrel on here. They've got a kind of a nice graphic with the plaque on it, but that first cover thumbnail that's there, a bit average, but it's coming up. There's no offers, but they've also kind of put like the price is up there. So like 34.73 ETH is what they're charging. So let's do a quick conversion of what that could be. I'll be interested to see. So that's that's a big barrel. It's a big barrel. So I think what they've probably done here is looked at that as an opportunity for the wine and looked at what Penfolds was previously charging. I suspect they've done this as the math where they've gone 130,000 USD to AUD. I've only done 13 and got ballpark 180,000, and then they've put that back into Ethereum to get the number for 30.73. So like you're paying in the vicinity if you were to go for that price of the wrapped ETH. You're going in the vicinity of $140,000 for some of these wines, which is like a big thing to commit to as part of that. But it'll be interesting to see if some of these become wine bottles or he's selling the whole thing. So like big commitment to get 300 bottles here as part of that. So wine and NFTs are an interesting thing. They're something that's innovative. They're something that's going to be pioneering the way people transact in the future and come together. So it'll be really exciting to see what happens, how these things come together in the future and what it means. So let me know what you think. Do you think something like a Penfolds will be more successful over the long term, Or do you think the dark horse in Dave Powell and the Nelda Road Initiative is going to have some success and traction in the market? Or do you think they're going to be a bit early? Let me know what you're going to think's going to happen with wine and NFTs in the comments below if you're watching this back on the replay. And thank you for watching. Let me know. I'm trying to stream 9 p.m. each Wednesday night, another video about wine, get some interaction going, be able to ask general questions that come up along the way for about an hour. So thank you for tuning into this live stream, and I'll see you in the next video, and I'll let you enjoy some of the jazz music on the outro.